I wasn't bad at my job. That's the thing. I did everything right. And I showed up early, stayed late, finished work that wasn't even mine, and still I was invisible, not ignored completely. That would have been easier. I was noticed, just not respected. And there's a difference, a big one. Because when someone ignores you, you can prove them wrong. But when they see you and still treat you like nothing, that's intentional. And that's harder to fix. It started small, like little things, like meetings where my ideas were skipped, then repeated by someone else. And suddenly they were brilliant. Emails I sent, answered hours later, or not at all. Tasks I completed, credited to someone else. At first, I told myself it was normal, that I just needed more time, more experience, and more visibility. And so I worked harder, stayed quieter, tried to earn something that was never going to be given. Respect. And that was my first mistake. And because people like them, they don't respect effort. They respect power. And I didn't have any. Not yet. There was one moment that should have made everything clear, but I ignored it because I wasn't ready to see it. We were in a meeting, team review, yeah, nothing special. I had spent 2 days preparing for it. Every detail, every number, every possible question. I knew it inside out. And when it was my turn, I started speaking calm, confident, clear. And for a second, it felt like they were listening, like it mattered, until it didn't. Halfway through, my manager interrupted me, not to ask a question, not to clarify anything, and just to stop me. "We'll circle back to that," he said. And then he turned to someone else, gave them the floor, like I had never started, like I wasn't even there. I sat there, hands still, notes open, and no one said anything. No one questioned it. No one looked at me, because to them, this was normal. And that's when I understood something. Not all at once, but enough. This wasn't about performance, or skill, or effort. This was about position, and mine, was at the bottom, exactly where they wanted me. And for a long time, I stayed there. Not because I had to, but because I thought I needed to. That if I worked harder, proved more, waited longer, something would change. But it didn't. Because nothing changes until you do. And the day I stopped trying to fit into their system was the day everything started shifting. They just didn't realize it yet. After that meeting, I stopped expecting anything. Not recognition, not fairness, not even basic respect. Because once you understand how a system works, you stop trying to fix it and start learning how to use it. But before that, there was one more moment. The one that made everything clear. The one I couldn't ignore anymore. It happened 2 weeks later. A project I had been working on for almost a month was finally ready. I had built everything from the ground up. Research, structure, execution. Every detail. I knew it better than anyone. And for the first time, I thought maybe this would change something. Not everything. Just enough. So I submitted it. Clean, complete, perfect. And then I waited. A day passed. Nothing. 2 days. Still nothing. No feedback. No acknowledgement. Just silence. And then on the third day, there was a team announcement, a presentation, mandatory attendance. And I didn't think much of it. Until I walked into the room and saw my work on the screen, not parts of it. Not something similar. Mine, exactly as I had created it, slide by slide, word for word, and standing in front of it was him, my manager, presenting it like it was his, like he had built it, like I didn't exist. And for a second, everything went quiet and not around me, inside me, because that's the moment, like the one where something breaks or changes or disappears completely. I watched the entire presentation but didn't interrupt, didn't react, didn't move, like, and no one noticed. No one questioned it, and no one said, wait, wasn't that her work? Because in that room, my presence didn't matter. Only the hierarchy did. And he was above me, so the truth didn't exist. Not out loud. After it ended, people clapped, complimented him, praised the idea, praised the execution, praised everything I had done, and he accepted it with every word, every credit, every lie, without hesitation, without looking at me. That was the moment, not the first time I was ignored, not the first time I was disrespected, but the first time I understood the full picture. This wasn't accidental. This wasn't miscommunication, and this was intentional, structured, allowed, and protected. Because in that environment, people don't take what they can. They take what they know they'll get away with. And he knew. He knew I wouldn't say anything, that I wouldn't challenge him, that I would stay quiet, like I always had. And that was his biggest mistake. Because something had already changed. He just didn't see it, and not yet. After the meeting, he walked past me, like nothing had happened. Like we hadn't just sat in the same room. While he erased me, and I didn't stop him. I didn't say a word. I didn't need to. Because this wasn't the moment for reaction. This was the moment for decision. And I had already made mine. I wasn't going to fight for a place in a system that benefited from ignoring me. I was going to leave it and come back with something they couldn't ignore, power. And once I had that, everything would change. They just didn't know it yet. I didn't quit that day. That's what most people expect. A reaction, a message, something emotional. But I didn't do any of that. It's because walking away without a plan is just losing. And I wasn't going to lose. Not like that. So I stayed. Not because I believed in the job. Not because I respected them. But because I needed time. Time to understand everything. And time to prepare. Time to leave. The right way. I stopped caring about approval. That was the first real shift. I didn't try to impress anyone anymore. Didn't speak unless I had to. Didn't volunteer. Didn't explain myself. And something interesting happened. They noticed, not in a big way, not directly, but subtly. Because when you stop playing your role, people feel it. And even if they don't understand it, my manager started checking in more. Small things. Everything okay? You've been quiet. I nodded. Gave short answers. Nothing more. Because I wasn't there to fix anything. I was there to finish something. And the less I said, the more space I had to think, to plan, to move outside of them. That's when everything started changing. Not in the office, outside of it. I started applying, and not randomly, not desperately, strategically. Positions that matched what I already knew, companies that valued structure, places where results mattered more than hierarchy. And for the first time, I saw something different. Responses, fast ones, in interviews, real conversations, like people listening, actually listening, and asking questions, respecting answers. And that felt strange, because I had forgotten what that felt like. To be seen, not tolerated, not used, seen. The first offer came faster than I expected. A better position, better pay, better everything. And for a moment, I hesitated, not because I doubted it, but because I realized something. This wasn't just an exit, this was a shift, a real one, the kind that changes everything after it. And once you step into that, you don't go back. So I accepted it, without telling anyone, not yet, because timing matters. And I wasn't done, not with them, not with what they did, because leaving quietly wasn't enough. Not after everything, not after what I saw, not after what they took. I wasn't going to argue, I wasn't going to complain, I wasn't going to explain anything. I was going to do something better. I was going to let success say everything for me. And when I came back, it wouldn't be the same. Not for them. And definitely not for me. They just didn't know it yet. Not about the offer. Not about leaving. Not about anything. Because the moment you announce something, you lose control of it. And I wasn't giving them that. So I stayed just long enough to finish what I started. But everything felt different now. Not heavier, lighter. Because I wasn't trying anymore. I wasn't proving anything. I wasn't waiting for recognition. I was already gone. They just didn't know it yet. I gave my notice a week later. Simple, professional, 2 weeks, no explanation, no emotion. And for the first time, they paid attention, not to my work, to me. What happened? Is everything okay? We didn't see this coming. Of course they didn't, because they weren't looking. Not before, not when it mattered. I gave them the same thing they gave me. Nothing. Short answers. Polite distance. No details. No closure. Because they didn't earn it. My manager tried the hardest. Called me into his office, closed the door, sat across from me like this was a conversation. Like we were equals. We can fix this, he said. That almost made me smile. Because that's the thing about people like him. They think everything is fixable, as long as it benefits them. You didn't have a problem before. No. I didn't have a voice before. That's the difference. I looked at him, calm. There's nothing to fix. And that was the end of it. No argument and no negotiation. Just silence. The same silence they gave me now returned. My last day came quietly. No speech and no celebration, just a few handshakes, a few empty words, and people who suddenly remembered my name. Too late. I walked out of that building without looking back. Not because I was angry, not because I was hurt, because I was done. And for the first time, that felt enough. The new job was different. From the first day, it was obvious in structure, clarity, expectations, everything I didn't have before, and more importantly, recognition. Not exaggerated, not forced, just accurate. If I did something well, it was acknowledged. If I contributed, it mattered. And that changes everything. Because when effort is seen, you don't burn out, you build. And that's exactly what I did. I learned faster, worked smarter, spoke more, not to prove anything, but because I finally could. Months passed, then more, and slowly, things started shifting again. Responsibilities grew. Decisions became mine. People started listening. Before I finished speaking, not because they had to, because they wanted to. And one day, something happened. Something small, but important. A meeting, a new project, a new team, and a new role. Leadership, not symbolic, not temporary, and real. And when they said my name for that position, I didn't react. Not outwardly, because I already knew. This was coming, and not by chance, but not by luck, but by design. And in that moment, everything connected. Where I started, where I left, and where I was now. Because the system that once ignored me was no longer the system I belonged to. And the next step wasn't about proving anything. It was about returning. But this time, on my terms. I didn't go back right away. That would have been too obvious. Too predictable, and predictable is easy to ignore. So I waited, not because I had to, because I could. Time changes things. Positions, perception, power. And when I finally saw the opportunity, I didn't hesitate. It came through a project, a collaboration, and then between departments and companies, and their company, yep, and mine. I saw the name first, recognized it instantly. Of course I did. Some things you don't forget. Not the place, not the people, not the way they made you feel. And for a second, I paused, not out of fear, out of clarity. Because this wasn't coincidence. And this was timing. And the kind you don't waste. So I said yes. The meeting was scheduled for the next week. Formal, structured, professional, everything it should be. And this time, so was I. I walked into the building. The same one I had walked out of months ago. But it didn't feel the same. Not even close. Because I wasn't the same. The reception, the hallways, the rooms, everything looked familiar, but smaller, less important. Like something I had already outgrown. They didn't recognize me at first. Of course they didn't. Why would they? Back then, I wasn't someone they needed to remember. But this time, I wasn't there to be remembered. I was there to be respected. The meeting room was already set. My people seated on documents ready. And then he walked in, my manager. The same one who interrupted me. The same one who took my work. The same one who acted like I didn't exist. He looked at me and paused, just for a second, trying to place it. The face, the memory, the moment. And then it clicked. I saw it. In his expression, recognition, followed by something else, uncertainty. Because this time, the roles weren't the same. I didn't say anything, didn't acknowledge it, and didn't give him the moment. Because this wasn't about him anymore. It was about the room, the position, the shift. I took my seat at the head of the table. And that's when everything changed. Not dramatically, not loudly, just enough. People adjusted, looked at me differently, but I waited for me to start to, and I did. Calm, clear, direct, no hesitation, no second guessing, because I didn't need to prove anything. I already had. The meeting moved forward, smooth and efficient, controlled. Exactly the way it should have been from the beginning. And he sat there, listening, not interrupting, not redirecting, not taking anything. Because this time, he couldn't. That was the difference. Not the situation and not the work, the power. After it ended, people stayed, asked questions, followed up, engaged. With me, not him. And that was the moment, not when I walked in. It's not when he recognized me, but when the room shifted, and when I stopped being invisible and became the one in control. And for the first time, he felt it, the same thing I had felt. But from the other side, I didn't stay after the meeting. I didn't need to. Everything that needed to happen already had. The room had shifted. The roles had changed. And the message was clear. But moments like that, they don't end in the room. They follow you into the hallway. It's into the silence after. And sometimes right back to you. He found me before I left. Of course he did, because people like him, they don't let things go. Not when they lose control. Can we talk? The same tone, the same approach. Like nothing had changed but everything had. I stopped, not because I had to, because I chose to. I turned, looked at him, really looked, for the first time, without hesitation. And for the first time, he didn't look certain. He looked careful. That was new. That presentation, he started, and I didn't know you were. He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to, because I already knew what he was trying to say, trying to adjust, trying to reposition himself, trying to make it smaller, manageable. But this wasn't something he could manage anymore. I remember, I said, simple, direct, no emotion, and that was enough, because now he knew this wasn't coincidence, this wasn't distance, this was awareness, and awareness changes everything, and I didn't mean for it to. He stopped again, because even he couldn't finish that sentence. There was no version of it that made him look better. No explanation that made it right. Just silence. The kind that doesn't ask for permission. The kind that stays and forces you to face it. I didn't help him. Didn't fill it. Didn't give him a way out. Because I had done that before, and I wasn't doing it again. You should have said something, he said. And that almost made me smile. Because that's what they always say. When it's too late, when the consequences are already there. You wouldn't have listened, I said, calm, certain. Because that was the truth, not emotional and not dramatic, and just accurate. He looked at me, like he was trying to find something, some version of me that he understood, and not the one who stayed quiet, the one who accepted it, the one who didn't matter. But she wasn't there anymore. And that's what unsettled him, more than anything else. This didn't have to happen like this, he said. And that's when I stepped forward, just enough. Not aggressive, not threatening, just present. It already did. Quiet, final. No room for interpretation. No space for negotiation. Because this wasn't a conversation. It was a conclusion. I held his gaze for a moment, not to prove anything, not to win, just to make sure he understood. Then I stepped back and turned, without waiting, without looking back, because I didn't need closure. I didn't need validation. I didn't need anything from him. Not anymore. And that's the difference. Not the title, and not the position, not even the power. The difference is when you stop needing something from people, they stop having control over you. I walked out of that building for the second time, but this time, it meant something different. The first time, I left because I had to. This time, I left because I chose to. And that changes everything, because respect isn't something you wait for, or ask for, or earn from the wrong people. It's something you create, by knowing when to leave and when to come back, on your terms. And this time, everything was exactly where it should be, including me.